Two toddlers are screaming on two different floors right now. Same volume, same tears, same flailing arms. One of them is having a tantrum. The other is having something completely different, and if you respond to it the same way, you could make it dramatically worse. Here's the one distinction almost no parenting book explains clearly enough to actually use. Here is the answer, and it is simpler than you think. The difference between a tantrum and what specialists call an autism meltdown has almost nothing to do with how loud, how long, or how dramatic the behavior looks from the outside. Two episodes can look nearly identical, the screaming, the flailing, the crying, and still be two completely different events happening inside two completely different nervous systems. The real difference is not what you're seeing, it's why it's happening. And once you understand that one distinction, you will know, almost every time, which one you are actually dealing with. Let's start with the tantrum, because it is the one most parents already understand, even if they've never had it explained this clearly. A tantrum is what researchers and behavioral specialists describe as goal-directed. Your toddler wants something, a cookie, 5 more minutes at the park, the red cup instead of the blue one, and the tantrum is the tool they reach for to try to get it. Underneath the noise, some part of your toddler's brain is still online, still tracking the situation, still checking whether the strategy is working. That is why tantrums so often include a very specific, very telling detail. Your toddler pauses mid-scream to glance at you. They are checking if you're watching. If you leave the room, a real tantrum frequently fades within moments, because the entire performance was built around having an audience who might give in. There is nothing manipulative or calculated about this in the adult sense of the word. It is simply the most effective tool a toddler's developing brain has found so far for getting a need met, and it works exactly as often as it has worked before, which is precisely why it keeps happening. An autism meltdown works on a completely different system, and this is the part almost no parent hears explained in plain language. A meltdown is not goal-directed. It is not a strategy, a negotiation tactic, or a bid for attention. Specialists describe it as an involuntary response to a nervous system that has become completely overloaded by sound, by light, by a change in routine, by too much information arriving too fast for the brain to process. Nothing is being requested. Nothing is being performed for an audience. A meltdown will happen exactly the same way whether you are standing right there or not in the room at all, because it was never about you in the first place. It is closer to a fire alarm going off inside the body than a message being sent to you. Picture two scenes that might look almost identical from across a room. In the first, a toddler is told they cannot have another turn on the swing. They drop to the ground, screaming, and every few seconds their eyes flick up toward the parent, checking, waiting, recalculating. The moment the parent walks away to answer a phone call, the screaming quietly fades within a minute. In the second scene, a toddler at a birthday party has been surrounded by noise, new faces, flashing decorations, and unfamiliar food for the last 20 minutes. Nothing was denied. Nothing was taken away. And yet, they suddenly collapse into sobbing, hands pressed over their ears, completely unaware of who is watching or not watching, unreachable by bargaining, unmoved by being offered exactly what they seemed to want minutes earlier. Same volume, same tears, two entirely different events happening for two entirely different reasons. Here's the second major difference, and it's one that catches almost every parent off guard the first time they notice it. Tantrums tend to start suddenly, right after a clear trigger, a request denied, a toy taken away, and they end almost as quickly once the situation resolves, one way or another. Meltdowns are different. Specialists have found that meltdowns often build for a while before they arrive, through a series of smaller warning signs that are easy to miss if you don't know to look for them. Increased hand flapping, rocking, covering the ears, pacing, going quiet in a way that feels different from ordinary quiet. Those signs are not the meltdown itself, they're the pressure building before it. A tantrum is a sudden storm. A meltdown is a slow flood that finally reaches the door. Quick pause here, because the next part is the piece that changes how you'll respond the very next time this happens, and it might save you both a genuinely painful hour. If this is already helping you make sense of moments that have confused you for a long time, subscribe now, because we cover exactly this kind of research every single week. And here is the difference that matters most for how you actually respond in the moment. A tantrum, frustrating as it is, usually stops once the child gets what they wanted, gives up trying, or realizes the behavior isn't working. There's a resolution point. A meltdown does not work that way at all. Giving in, offering a reward, even removing the original trigger entirely often does nothing, because the nervous system is no longer reacting to that one specific thing. It's reacting to everything at once, and it has to run its full course before it settles. Where a tantrum usually ends with your toddler seeming relieved, a meltdown usually ends with your toddler seeming completely exhausted, sometimes for a long stretch afterward, because what just happened wasn't a performance. It was their whole system working overtime just to survive the moment. This is exactly why the standard advice, stay firm, don't give in, ignore it, and it will pass, works reasonably well for tantrums and can make a meltdown significantly worse. Firmness and reasoning require a thinking brain that is available to listen. During a meltdown, that part of the brain has, in a very real sense, gone offline. Lectures, consequences, even a calm request to use your words, all of it becomes more input flooding a system that is already far past its limit. So what actually helps looks almost nothing like standard tantrum advice. First, lower the sensory input around them wherever you can. Dim harsh lights, turn down music, move away from a crowd if it's safe to do so. Second, stop asking questions and stop trying to reason through what happened. This is not the moment for a conversation, no matter how calm your voice is. Third, keep their body safe and your own, and simply wait, because there is no shortcut through a meltdown, no perfect sentence that ends it early. Right now, your job isn't to teach a lesson. It's to be the calm, unhurried presence their body can eventually borrow its way back to. Now, I want to pause and be completely honest with you about something, because this matters more than anything else in this video. Nothing here is a diagnosis, and this video isn't designed to be one. Plenty of toddlers show a mix of both patterns, and plenty of behaviors that look confusing on a hard Tuesday are simply normal toddler development having a rough day. Every child is different, and the same behavior can mean different things for different children, even within the same family. What this video can offer you is a way to start noticing the pattern underneath the behavior, the why instead of just the what, so that if you do keep seeing the same signs again and again, the sudden shutdown, the lack of interest in an audience, the long, exhausted recovery, the buildup of warning signs across the day, you have real language to bring to your pediatrician or a developmental specialist. They are the ones equipped to actually evaluate what's happening for your specific child through proper observation and assessment, not a video watched at 11 at night while you're still catching your breath from the last one. You don't have to figure this out alone, and you were never supposed to. Here's what I want you to carry with you after today. Whether what you're watching on the floor in front of you is a tantrum or a meltdown, your toddler is not giving you a hard time. They are having a hard time, and the way you respond, calm, curious, paying attention to the why instead of only the what, is already more than most parents ever get taught to offer. This doesn't mean you'll get it right every single time. Some days you'll misread the moment, respond the wrong way, and feel it in your chest afterward. That's not failure. That's what learning a new language sounds like in the beginning, clumsy at first, clearer with practice. Understanding the difference doesn't just change how you handle the next episode. It changes how you see your child, not as someone misbehaving, but as someone whose body is telling you something important, if you know how to listen for it. If this helped you make sense of something you've been quietly trying to understand, subscribe right now, because every single week we break down what is actually happening inside your toddler's mind, backed by real research, explained in a way that finally makes sense. And if you know a parent who has been standing in that same confused, exhausted moment, wondering which one they're looking at, send them this video today. It might be exactly what they need to finally understand their own child a little better.